You are not here by accident. Something in you is tired of surface-level living, tired of the noise, tired of being surrounded by people yet feeling completely unseen, and today, that quiet hunger inside you brought you to this message for a reason. Because there comes a moment in a person's life when distraction stops working, when entertainment feels empty, when success without meaning feels hollow. And that moment is not a breakdown. It is an awakening. Most people run from it. They drown it in scrolling, gossip, and constant stimulation, numbing themselves just enough to avoid the questions rising from within. But you didn't run. You paused. And that pause is power. That stillness you allowed yourself to feel is not weakness. It is awareness beginning to open its eyes. The ones who dare to sit in the silence are the ones who begin to hear truth, and truth rarely shouts. It whispers beneath the chaos of everyday life. Real growth doesn't start when life gets louder. It starts when you become still enough to question everything you thought you knew about yourself. Why do you react the way you do? Why do certain patterns repeat, no matter how hard you try to change your environment? Why do you outgrow people, places, and conversations but still feel guilty for it? These are not random thoughts drifting through your mind. They are signals that your consciousness is rising beyond survival mode, beyond autopilot, beyond the identity you built just to cope. For most of your life, you were focused on getting through, being accepted, staying safe, and playing roles that earned approval. But now, something deeper is calling you to be real instead of liked, aligned instead of applauded, and whole instead of just functional. That shift can feel lonely, even disorienting, because the old distractions no longer satisfy you, and the new clarity hasn't fully formed yet. You are in between versions of yourself, and that in-between space is sacred, even if it feels uncomfortable. This channel isn't here to entertain your ego or feed you empty motivation that fades tomorrow. It's here to challenge your perspective, sharpen your thinking, and help you see the invisible forces shaping your life. Your conditioning, your fears, your unhealed stories, and also your hidden strengths, your intuition, and your untapped depth. Because once you see clearly, you move differently, you choose differently, and you speak differently, and once you move differently, everything changes, not all at once, but in the quiet, powerful ways that last. So take a breath right now. Let your shoulders drop. Drop the mask you wear for the world. Leave the noise outside this moment. What you're about to hear may not always be comfortable, because truth stretches you before it frees you. But it will be necessary. And if you stay until the end, you won't just learn something new. You'll begin to see your own life through a completely different lens, and that new way of seeing is where real transformation begins. Point 1. There is a quiet kind of instruction that doesn't arrive through excitement, applause, or sudden visible breakthroughs, but through a stillness so deep it can almost feel uncomfortable, and that is exactly where many of you are standing right now. Life has slowed in ways you didn't schedule and would not have chosen. Conversations have grown fewer, invitations have become rare, and your phone, once filled with constant notifications, now sits in long stretches of silence. You look around, and it appears as though everyone else is advancing, forming connections, building communities, and stepping into visible progress, while you feel as if you have been placed on pause. But this is not a random pause. It is a deliberate positioning. When God prepares to release something truly significant into a life, He often reduces movement before He increases impact. Stillness sharpens spiritual awareness. When you are no longer reacting every moment to people, drama, and endless outside noise, you begin to hear your own thoughts more clearly. You start recognizing emotional patterns you once ignored. You notice what truly drains your spirit and what genuinely strengthens it. This is where divine direction begins to surface. What feels like delay is actually redirection unfolding beneath the surface, where you cannot yet see the full design. If you were surrounded by the same influences and the same pace as before, you would continue repeating the same cycles that kept you limited. So heaven slows your environment down, not to frustrate you, but to recalibrate your heart, your focus, and your spiritual sensitivity. This season is teaching you how to be still without interpreting stillness as abandonment, how to be alone without believing you are unloved, and how to trust movement that is happening in the unseen before it manifests in the visible. The delay is not proof that nothing is happening. It is proof that something precise is being arranged with care and timing beyond your understanding. If you moved too early, you would walk past what is meant for you. If you forced doors open, you would enter spaces not prepared to sustain who you are becoming. So the instruction remains simple, even when it feels emotionally heavy. Stay where you are, remain grounded, and allow direction to find you instead of chasing it ahead of its time. Point 2. Isolation has a way of revealing who you are without performance. When you are around people, you adjust. You soften certain parts of yourself, amplify others, and shape your personality to fit the environment. This is human, but it can also keep you from seeing your true emotional state. In solitude, there is no one to perform for. There is no audience, no validation, and no distraction from your inner world. At first, this can feel heavy. Old memories surface. Regrets try to replay. Questions about your worth or your future can feel louder than usual. But this is not a breakdown. This is an unveiling. God often allows isolation so that hidden wounds can finally be acknowledged and healed. If the right people entered your life while you were still carrying unhealed pain, you might attach from fear instead of from wholeness. You might tolerate what you shouldn't because you are afraid of being alone again. So this lonely season is doing deep emotional work. It is teaching you to sit with yourself without running. It is teaching you to validate your own feelings instead of depending entirely on others to make you feel seen. It is strengthening your emotional independence so that when new connections arrive, you engage from strength, not from desperation. You are not being emptied for no reason. You are being cleared of emotional clutter that would interfere with what is coming next. In the quiet, you begin to notice patterns you once ignored, emotional triggers you used to blame on others, and fears that quietly influenced your decisions. Awareness like this is uncomfortable, but it is sacred work. It is the kind of inner renovation that cannot happen in noise and constant social stimulation. God is not punishing you with distance. He is protecting your future by preparing your heart. This season is teaching you how to be emotionally present with yourself so you can be emotionally healthy with others. You are learning that loneliness will not destroy you, that your value does not disappear when no one is clapping, and that your identity is deeper than the roles you play in other people's lives. What feels like isolation is actually alignment. You are being brought back to your true emotional center, where your decisions are guided by peace instead of panic, and where love will one day be received from a place of fullness, not from a place of lack. Point 3. While you feel stationary, God is moving pieces you cannot see, and this hidden movement is one of the deepest mysteries of faith. From your perspective, days may feel repetitive, quiet, and even unproductive, but heaven does not measure progress the way humans do. We look for signs we can touch, messages, invitations, visible breakthroughs, but divine alignment is often engineered in silence, beyond the reach of your natural senses. Right now, there are conversations unfolding in rooms you have never stepped into, decisions being made by people who do not yet know your name, and hearts being softened in ways that will one day directly affect your life. Just as you are being stretched, humbled, and refined, others tied to your future are going through their own preparation process. God does not only prepare promises, He prepares people. Timing is never about you alone being ready. It is about the readiness of everyone connected to your next chapter. If certain doors opened too early, you would walk through them as a previous version of yourself, still carrying old wounds, old fears, or old habits that would sabotage the blessing. Likewise, the people assigned to walk with you might misinterpret you, mishandle you, or be unable to value what you carry. Premature connections often collapse under the weight of emotional or spiritual immaturity on one side or the other. So God works in synchronization. He develops lives in parallel. He aligns healing with healing, growth with growth, and purpose with purpose. This is why it can feel like nothing is happening when, in reality, multiple stories are being edited at once so that when paths finally cross, the connection is stable instead of chaotic, peaceful instead of dramatic, and purposeful instead of confusing. Your responsibility in this season is not to chase what heaven is arranging behind the curtain. Your assignment is steadiness. Stay rooted, stay faithful in the small routines, stay obedient in the quiet instructions. What is meant for you is not drifting in the wind, not lost in time, and not forgotten in heaven's schedule. It is being carefully escorted into place with precision you cannot yet see. Point 4. Increased emotional pressure often appears right before meaningful change, and this phase can feel heavier than anything you've carried before, because transition rarely announces itself with comfort. You may notice sudden waves of discouragement that seem to come from nowhere, moments of deep doubt about your direction, or a strong pull to reconnect with people and patterns God already removed from your life for a reason. This is not random, and it is not a sign you are failing. When you're close to a breakthrough, resistance intensifies because both your mind and the spiritual realm react to impending change. Psychologically, the mind craves familiarity when the future feels uncertain, even if that familiarity once hurt you. Spiritually, opposition increases when alignment with purpose is near, because growth threatens the cycles that once kept you small. You might feel tempted to settle for less than you prayed for, to lower your standards just to relieve the tension, or to step back into environments that feel known and predictable even though they were draining and limiting. This is the moment to stay spiritually alert and emotionally grounded. Pressure does not mean you are off track. Often it is confirmation that you are approaching a door that will permanently shift your trajectory. The enemy of your growth prefers you comfortable inside repetitive cycles, distracted by temporary relief, and disconnected from long-term purpose. So he amplifies loneliness to make you feel unsupported, exaggerates fear to make you question your calling, and magnifies your sense of delay to make you think you have been forgotten. But feelings are not facts, and emotional heaviness is not evidence that nothing good is coming. In many cases, it is the final wave of resistance before a new season breaks through. Something significant can be approaching quietly, while pressure tries loudly to push you out of position before it arrives. This is why steadiness matters more than speed right now. Hold your ground, protect your peace, and refuse to make permanent decisions based on temporary emotions, because stability in this moment is not just endurance, it is preparation, and the way you stand firm now is what will protect, sustain, and qualify you for what is about to open next. Point 5. One of the greatest lessons in this season is learning the difference between chasing and receiving. Many of you are used to effort being the solution. If you want something, you pursue it. If you feel distance, you close the gap. If you feel a lack, you work harder. That mindset helped you survive past seasons, but it cannot carry you into the next one. In divine alignment, not everything is meant to be chased. Some things are meant to be attracted through becoming. This season is not teaching you passivity. It is teaching you alignment at a deeper level than you have ever known. As your mindset shifts, as your emotional health stabilizes, and as your spiritual awareness deepens, you begin to operate on a different frequency. You think differently, respond differently, and value yourself differently. And what matches that frequency is drawn toward you naturally, without strain or desperation. This is why forcing connections right now feels exhausting and unproductive. It is not because you are failing, it is because you are being retrained. You are learning to stop chasing what is not assigned to your future. You are being taught to trust that what truly belongs in your life will not require constant striving, convincing, or self-abandonment. When you are aligned, recognition happens without pressure. Conversations flow without manipulation. Opportunities open without you having to shrink, pretend, or compromise your values. Doors that once required you to beg now open because your presence fits the room. This is not laziness. It is trust in divine timing and divine selection. It is allowing God to bring what fits your next level instead of you grabbing what fits your old comfort zone. Chasing is rooted in fear of loss, but receiving is rooted in confidence in provision. You're moving from survival mode into stewardship mode, where you no longer hunt for validation, but carry quiet assurance. In this place, peace replaces panic, clarity replaces confusion, and patience replaces pressure. What is meant for you will recognize you, and it will arrive with confirmation, not chaos. Point 6. You are being upgraded internally before anything changes externally. And this phase is quieter than you expected, but more powerful than you realize. While nothing dramatic seems to be shifting around you, something profound is happening within you. Your emotional tolerance has changed. Situations you once endured now feel misaligned. Conversations that used to feel normal now leave you exhausted. You are becoming more sensitive to dishonesty, quicker to notice subtle disrespect, and far more protective of your peace. This is not moodiness. This is spiritual maturity. Growth often feels like isolation because fewer spaces feel comfortable, but this is how you are prepared for higher quality connections. God sharpens your discernment, so you can recognize who is truly aligned with your future and who only belonged to your past. He strengthens your boundaries, so you stop overextending yourself just to be liked. He builds quiet confidence so you no longer shrink yourself to fit smaller rooms. These internal upgrades are not optional, they are necessary. Without them, you could sabotage new blessings with old reactions. So before the right people are trusted with access to your life, you are becoming the right version of yourself who can sustain, protect, and grow those blessings. Point 7. When the season shifts, it often shifts quickly. Divine timing can feel slow during preparation and sudden during manifestation. You may look back and realize that months or years of loneliness were quietly building the foundation for a short period of rapid change. New relationships, new opportunities, and new environments can enter your life in a way that feels almost overwhelming compared to the stillness you endured. This is why patience now matters so much. If you abandon your position too soon, you may delay what is already close. But if you remain steady, when the door opens, you will step through with clarity instead of confusion. The loneliness will make sense. The waiting will make sense. The silence will make sense. You will see that you are never being ignored. You are being protected, prepared, and precisely positioned. So stay grounded. Stay faithful in small routines. Stay emotionally steady. What is meant for you is not wandering aimlessly. It is on a guided path toward you, and at the right moment, paths will merge in a way that confirms this entire season had purpose.